Welcome to the ProComps Metaphorcast. In this video, we'll be taking a look at some of the best champions for competitive play on patch 25.1.4. We've got a small patch update, but we have some new champions to look at today. Not a ton has changed on this patch for top lane outside of small nerfs to tank items, but the ones that were nerfed, except for Unending Despair, weren't the ones commonly built by pro play relevant tanks. For our S tiers this patch, we'll be keeping the same lineup with Cassante, Jason, and Bessa. These champions are seeing the most play across every major region, and this patch won't do much to change that. In jungle, we're also not seeing a ton of movement in this patch, but we wanted to highlight Skarner moving up and Pantheon moving a little further down the list. Skarner did recently see some nerfs, but that hasn't stopped teams from picking him up in pro play recently. And it's looking like no matter what Riot does, they can't get rid of the Scorpion. As for Wukong and Zyra, there's not a ton to be said that hasn't already been discussed last patch. But look to pick Zyra versus Skarner specifically as a counter. Moving on to mid lane, I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record here. Not a ton has changed this patch with only Hui seeing nerfs. It is enough, however, to maybe push him down the list, but not enough to take him off entirely. The newest addition to the top end of the list is Victor. With his stable laning phase and great scaling, he can stall out games by lasering minion waves over and over again. As for Azir and Ahri, they still offer the same as last patch, with maybe Ahri being a little more powerful after the tank itemization nerfs. This patch will be taking a look at Varus. You've been seeing a ton of play in Pro recently with his on-hit and lethality builds. There is room for a more AP-style on-hit build with Rageblade, Nashers, Terminus 3-item core. The best thing about Varus is definitely his build flexibility and laning phase, but he does struggle quite a bit versus heavy engaged comps due to his lack of mobility. As for Corki and Jinx, they'll still be dominating on average across all ELOs this patch. Last patch we talked at length about how Rell is still the queen of support in high-level play. Recently, we've been seeing a move toward Poppy as a direct counter to both Rell and the style of play she loves most, using her W to block engages and making good use of the Hail of Blades buff from last patch to pump out damage in the early game. Poppy has steadily been rising in priority. Alistar remains the same as another useful answer to engaged champions and a great initiator in his own right. First up is Mbessa, the matriarch of war. Mbessa's power lies in her powerful laning phase and great ability to follow up or engage fights later on into the game. She has multiple item builds that make great use of the electrocute buffs from last patch to quickly burst down squishier opponents. Usually though, you'll see her take Conqueror and rush Eclipse into Shojin or Black Cleaver. She's a great champion to pick up if you're looking for a consistent trader and an overall fun champion with a ton of mobility. Moving on to Cassante, we're sticking with a more top lane centric view for this patch. Cassante is an incredibly powerful tank, bruiser, assassin, DPS fighter. Just two. He is a genuinely powerful tank and fighter both in and out of lane. His strength lies in his ability to survive rough lanes and still provide a ton of utility and damage. Unending Despair did see a small nerf to the passive on this patch, but it doesn't change a ton for Cassante, who generally prefers Iceborne Gauntlet on Jack Show. The one downside to both Cassante and Mbessa, however, is they are generally difficult to play and require some time practicing their combos to best utilize their kits. This patch, we'll be looking at blind picks in the context of what champions give you the most freedom in draft after picking them. We're going to be taking a look at Skarner and Renekton. For Skarner, a lot of his ability to be reliably blind picked comes from his overall champion strength. He has a strong clear, great team fighting, and a plethora of CC combos and abilities. He does have a few tough matchups like Zyra, Xin Zhao, and Morgana, but they aren't unplayably bad. He fits well into any composition by bringing a decent chunk of physical and magic damage. His favorite item, Heartsteel, is seeing a nerf on the patch, but don't let that dissuade you from picking up the Scorpion Drift King. For Renekton, he isn't necessarily a useful flex pick as he's only really seen in top lane this season. But he is a solid laner and has great setup for more finesse style junglers. I'm sure you've all seen Renekton paired with Elise, Talia, and Lily in the past, but don't be limited to only playing those specific champions with Renekton. He's got a fantastic early laning phase and his ability to set up plays with his W stun make for a godlike pairing with any jungler.
Moving on from blind picks, let's take a look at some of the best champion duos in the game right now. These duos aren't necessarily the strongest by far, but they do seem to be trending upwards, and we think that you should look into picking them up if you want to pick up some more wins.
If you guys are after a powerful top jungle duo, look no further than Zyra and Mbessa. These champions don't necessarily have an innate synergy together, but they're both incredibly strong in the meta right now and have a plethora of strengths. Mbessa's powerful laning phase and dive potential paired with the lightning fast clear and reliable damage of Zyra kind of makes for an incredibly potent 2v2. Similar to last patch, we're going to be featuring a pro play staple combo of Talia and Vi. Talia's win rate when picked by some of the best players in the world like Scout, BDD, and Faker is over 67%. Crazy. And Vi is a great stable jungler, bringing on all-important CC and set up for Talia's Seismic Shove combo. Combo has been a staple for the past couple of competitive splits, and recently was picked up by 100 Thieves versus Brazil's Pain Gaming, in which Quid and River took over the game in the late stages by one-shotting one target every single time their ultimates were up. Let's take a look at one of League's most classic duos with Xayah and Rakan. While not being the stock standard best champions in either of their roles, they both fulfill a purpose in the composition and offer some of the best 2v2 kill potentials in the game. Obviously, champions both have innate synergies with their W and E spells, but the combo goes even deeper than that when you really dig into it. Xayah being strong versus dive compositions and Rakan offering snap engage options whenever your team needs it, this combo pretty much covers every base. Okay, time once again to take a sneak peek at some cookie cutter compositions to better help you guys understand team building and the strengths and weaknesses of any comp. This Protect style team comp struggles versus comps that can eliminate one target quickly. The strength of this specific comp lies in its ability to keep your AD carry alive through all the dive power of any enemy team. Utilizing a powerful long-range AD carry with great peel tools makes for a formidable 5v5 deathball. Pick style comps are all about your ability to maintain control of vision. They do tend to struggle versus straight up 5v5 team comps, provided those comps carry more than one threat. Pick comps are great versus one threat comps, but also excel when paired with aggressive vision control. Here's a classic Wombo combo style team comp where powerful ultimates reign supreme. Use this kind of composition to instantly wipe enemies off the face of the earth, but if you don't land your ultimates, you will struggle to close out games. Be careful and fight around important ultimate cooldowns to see the best success. Siege comps are not exactly the strongest, but they do offer strengths unmatched by any other composition mentioned previously. You're able to choke an enemy team out of any counterplay by playing around your max range spells, and paired with powerful disengage ultimates, you'll remain safe despite your lack of mobility. Split push comps are great when playing against teams that want those brutal 5v5 team fights. Ignore the enemy's win con by pulling them all over the map and forcing them to fight odd number fights or lose multiple turrets at a time. This split push style composition does tend to struggle if your 3-man combo of AD carry, jungle, and support aren't able to stay safe while your solo laners split push to their heart's content. Alright, thanks everybody for tuning in to the ProComps Meta Forecast. I'm the ProComps League of Legends expert Coffee, reminding you to like, subscribe, and share the video with all your friends and teammates. Also, what champion do you see taking over the Rift this patch? Let us know in the comments section down below.